Senator, are Taiwan and the South China Sea national security issues for the United States? If so, why?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Are Taiwan and the South China Sea national security issues for the United States, and if so, why or how?
I'm just going to be honest here. I'm not on national security. I'm not that informed on national security, but I do support the military. My brother was in the Air Force for 33 years, so I will do everything I can to support the military. My dad was in the Army. I'm not a polished politician up here. National security is not my thing, not my area of expertise, but I do support the military.
That was Darline Graham, who is currently serving as United States Senator in Senator Lindsey Graham's seat. Now, of course, Senator Lindsey Graham is deceased, he died. And immediately we hear news that his sister gets anointed and will fill in for her brother. And as you saw in that debate performance, because she is now running to get elected for that Senate seat, national security, not her strong suit. She doesn't really know much about it. Cool. Now, I just want you guys to think about what's happening in the backdrop of all of this. We have depleted our missile interceptors in wars that we are fighting on behalf of Israel, which is why Trump had to stop kinetic warfare against Iran. Doesn't that mean that we here in the United States are vulnerable if we don't have the hardware to defend ourselves? If, one of the many countries that we have harmed in a variety of ways decides they want to attack us? What are we doing? What are we doing? But okay, let's continue on with Darline Graham, current sitting Senator Darline Graham. So that clip has gone viral and even prompted some criticism from Republicans. Whoa, Republicans were even willing to criticize her. Nikki Haley was one of them. Nikki Haley is a loathsome neocon, but nonetheless, she wrote, Lindsey Graham was well informed. Okay, well informed on the United States' national security. I think Lindsey Graham was mostly informed on how he could please Israel, but let me continue with what Nikki Haley had to say. Darline Graham admits she's not. This is not something you inherit. And it's critical in the United States Senate. I agree with the last part. Now, the moderator who asked Darline that very question, Greta Van Susteren, used to be a host over at Fox News, currently an anchor at Newsmax, shamefully, and I mean that word, okay, shamefully apologized to Darline Graham for asking the question. Can we cue up the video again, guys? Okay, I just want to make it clear. Greta Van Susteren, the moderator of this debate, later apologized because she asked this question.
Senator, are Taiwan and the South China Sea national security issues for the United States? If so, why?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Are Taiwan and the South China Sea national security issues for the United States, and if so, why or how?
I'm just going to be honest here. I'm not on national security. I'm not that informed on national security, but I do support the military.
Okay, so Greta Van Susteren apologized for asking, if ever there was a legitimate question asked by a moderator in the middle of a debate for a Senate seat, that was one of them. But here's what Greta Van Susteren said. The media thinks that this one question is so important to only talk about that and ignore the other 19 questions, which are 40 answers. Greta, yeah, that's how it works. People are watching the debate, and the weakest answer from the candidate is gonna get the most attention. The candidates usually know that going into it. Why is that your problem? Why is that your issue? Okay, but let me continue. She says, the ad nauseum repeating and replaying today of one answer by Senator Darline Graham makes the media look bad. No, you look bad right now with what you're doing, whatever this is, you look bad. You are providing cover for a candidate who was anointed to serve in a United States Senate seat, is now running to be elected for a full term in that seat, and she's not competent for the job. She's not right for the job. Okay, so what matters here isn't Darline Graham's feelings or your feelings. What matters here is who's best suited to serve the people of the state in the United States Senate. We don't work for them, they work for us. They're signing up to work for us. Okay, they're not our gods and goddesses. Thank God. She continues, that was certainly not her entire contribution to last night's debate. Who cares? And by the way, there's gonna be higher standards for her because she was anointed. Believe it or not, Americans don't like the nepotism. They don't like when people get all sorts of cookies and goodies that they didn't earn. So there's going to, in my opinion, rightfully be a lot more attention paid to how Darline Graham, who is currently a United States Senator, how she's answering these questions. Okay, so while the Newsmax host admitted that her question about Taiwan and the South China Sea was important, she added, quote, I wish I hadn't asked that question. I wish you went away and were no longer a broadcaster of any type. Unless you want to do like celebrity gossip stuff, have at it. But if you think you're in the wrong for asking a legitimate question in the middle of a debate for a Senate seat, then this job you're not suited for this job. Move on. There are so many other people who would love to do this. So Darline was appointed to fill the seat of her brother, late Senator Lindsey Graham. We've gone over that. And for now, it's a temporary appointment. The runoff election will be held next week to determine who fills the seat for a full 6-year term. And there are a few other contenders in the race. This is where my eyes start to glaze over and you lose me because electoral politics is just, I find it so boring and irrelevant at this point, okay? I hate Congress, they never do anything for us, but that's just my bias and I wanna be open and upfront about it. But okay, bear with me as I try to get through the rest of this as if I care. So there are a few other contenders in the race, including Republican Representative Ralph Norman. But the catch is that President Donald Trump has put his full backing and support behind Darline Graham, Lindsey Graham's sister. So he called for her to fill Lindsey's seat literally one day after it was announced that Lindsey Graham died. And Trump even went out of his way to call the governor of South Carolina to make sure that Darline served as the interim senator. Later, he wrote the following: Lindsey was one of the greatest people and senators I have ever known, and his sister shares his deep love of our country and the state of South Carolina. During her visit, I asked Darline, for the good of our nation, to run for the United States Senate in the special Republican primary on Tuesday, August 11th, 2026. He says, I hope Darline does this, and she did, she's running, in that there would be nobody better to honor the legacy of her beloved brother, Lindsey. Darline, who comes from an absolutely incredible family, has been a winner all of her life, and should she accept, has my complete and total endorsement in the special election for US Senate in South Carolina. Which begs the question, what would Darline Graham actually do if elected? Like, what are her policy views? Has she stopped to think about any of that? Apparently, she would continue working This is one thing that is certain, okay? She absolutely would continue working closely with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, just like her brother. Let's watch. Do we have video on that?
I have met with the Prime Minister and his wife. They were in town for Lindsey's funeral, so it wasn't necessarily a discussion about moving forward. It was more of a discussion about Lindsey and their friendship and how appreciative he was and how much Lindsey meant to him. And he was very nice, him and his wife both. It was a really good conversation. One thing I did ensure him that I will stand with Israel as well.
Oh, well, thank God. I mean, that's the most important thing. US national security, who cares, as my dad would say, who cares? But Israel, are you gonna keep working with Netanyahu? Yes, yes, well, that's the important thing. That's the important thing. Anyway, that's what we're dealing with. We'll see if she wins. But I just think we need to get back to a place, if ever we were in a place, where we expected competence from our public servants. Because again, whether you're talking about your own party members, let's say you're a hardcore Democrat, you only vote for Democrats, you love Democrats, you still are not, as an American citizen, you're not tasked with serving them, okay? They are tasked with serving you. That is what they signed up for. You pay their salaries. The same goes for Republicans. They signed up to be public servants. Okay, so if you are a member of the media, especially providing cover, doing PR work on behalf of politicians, political candidates, you're not, please don't claim to be a journalist. You do PR. There's nothing wrong with PR, but it's a completely different thing.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.